I don't know. Say it with me. I don't know. Good God, it is liberating. I am a towering mountain of ignorance. I don't know. We're taught to believe that everything has a reason. And so we observe the world, we see what happened, and then we define the thing that happened as the reason the thing happened. But I think a lot of the time we end up mixing up thinking something with knowing something. This is why it can be so impossible to talk about certain topics with certain people. They've tied those suppositions to themselves so tightly with knots of narrative and constructed reality and values that there's just no untying it. And maybe unsurprisingly, in those situations, the best course of action is just to be friends. Maybe even ask them about that thing that they've created, because to them, it's immensely valuable. The world as we perceive it, as we've built it inside of ourselves, is a lie that we tell to ourselves, not out of deception, but out of necessity. We have no other choice. We simply cannot understand the world as it is, and so we construct. But sometimes I just have to tell myself the thing that is definitely true, the truest thing I can say, which is that I don't know.
Never know.
This is the Everyone's Agnostic Podcast with Bob Pondillo and Cass Midgley.
And I'm not one of those atheists that conclude, and I don't think many are, that certainly God doesn't exist. It just strikes me as an unlikely proposition. But my atheism today is very different than what it was as a teen. I don't have a requirement to fix other people if they want to be believers. Matter of fact, if I had a special button that could remove someone's theism, I wouldn't push it, because I don't know how their reality is moored to that viewpoint.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 114 of the Everyone's Agnostic Podcast. I'm Cass Midgley. Today, Bob and I interview Alex Starr. His faith journey weaved in and out, and then back in and back out of Greek Orthodox Christianity. He read Dawkin's Delusion and followed it up with Lee Strobel, the Christian apologist. He has a strong need to be right. Alex is a skilled talker. He's a salesman for a living, he's currently in law school, and he's a songwriter. So as a first on this podcast, we feature him performing one of his songs at the end of this interview. His story is compelling, and we're excited to bring it to you. We taped this conversation on August 21st, 2016. If you're liking our show, please subscribe to it, or give it 5 stars, or leave a review on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, you can support us monetarily on a per-episode basis through our Patreon site. That's patreon.com/EA Podcast. Or you can leave a donation through PayPal on our website, everyone'sagnostic.com. Our opening monologue is an excerpt from Hank Green titled Towering Mountain of Ignorance. The music behind it is Never Know by Jack Johnson. The segue music is by Sam Mayer, recorded on a handpan in the New York subway. Thanks for listening, and be a yes-sayer to what is.
Hey, hi.
What's going on?
I'm Bob.
Buddy. Hey, Bob.
See you.
Pleasure. Yeah, I heard you guys, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Were you at Sunday Assembly when he spoke?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
I was when you were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I remember you. You were the front row and had a lot of
I'm pretty goofy.
affirming countenance.
Yeah.
What we call affirming countenance in the preacher world.
I do a lot of, I'm in recovery.
Of what?
Drug addiction.
Really?
Well,
I'll tell you what, before we get too far into your story, you can put those headphones on.
Okay.
You brought your own drink.
I
it
got
looks
a
like.
halls. Can I spit it out somewhere?
Yeah, sure.
I'll have to. You got a napkin? I'd hate to do it.
It's all right.
Just do it naked.
It's all right.
Okay. So I didn't want to be on there sucking. Anyway.
Smacking on your lozenge.
Now, I have been super slammed.
Okay.
So I'm a full-time, so I own a business, a direct sales business,
Yeah.
and I do recovery. And then I'm also a law student at National School of
Oh,
Law.
Really? Wow.
So
how awesome.
I've just been slammed. I've read over the questions that you
Oh, no,
that you
don't worry
said.
about it. We're just going to have it.
So I read over, I familiarized myself with some of the questions, but this is a story that's so close to me that,
Yeah,
I mean,
you can wing it.
somebody could be on the street and ask me, at any time. And so, some of my answers are, none
So
of my
pull up
answers
to
will
the
be.
mic, and if you want to put those headphones on, you can.
Okay.
Let's see us get as close as
Sounds so nice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen to that right there. This is Alex Starr here on Everyone's Agnostic Podcast, and we are so excited.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very nice, Alex. With a name like Alex Starr.
I don't know if I can do this without sounding like this, Bob. This is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. It's like
I may need to take these off.
What a great name, though, for a showbiz guy.
That's
Alex
your real
Starr.
No, right.
That's your real name?
I'm also a songwriter and
Alex
and
Starr.
singer. So yes, that is my real name.
You're a polymath.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. What does
A
that
Renaissance
mean?
man.
Yeah.
You do a little bit of everything.
A little bit. I'm not a master at anything besides needing to be right.
Yeah.
I do that pretty well. Yeah.
Is there any relation to Bart Starr? We were just
No.
talking about there's no other. Who else has a name with 2 R's in it?
Ringo
Ringo Starr.
Ringo Starr?
No relation there, I would guess.
Yeah, there's a couple
Yes, London.
adult film stars.
yeah,
we
I was
were
going to say it's a
thinking-
pretty good porn name.
Porn
Yeah,
name.
yeah, that's right.
Well, it's good to have you here,
All
man.
right.
Maybe if we twist your arm, we'll get you to play one of your songs for us. I've got a Taylor in the next room.
I could do that.
Okay.
I could do that.
All right.
Sure.
Well, we'll see how it goes at
Absolutely.
the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd love to actually.
So, you just listed enough character traits that I'm.
Are we recording, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Oh, awesome. So we're on. This is what you're going to
Yeah.
use
This
for the
is
show.
this is part of the
Boom,
show.
I'm down. What's up, everybody?
Well, yeah. What is Rainbow? That's the company you work for. Are you a salesman of some sort? Or?
So Rainbow is pretty much the world's finest residential cleaning system. I mean, this thing's bad to the bone. It uses water instead.
Okay, it's the vacuum.
It's a vacuum, shampooer, air purifier, aromatherapy.
He's going to sell us one.
You can use it. I mean, you can use it to get dust, dirt, and debris.
My mom has one. Back in
Rainbow?
Oklahoma.
Really?
They're the best. They've been in business since 1936.
Cheers.
And,
Look at he's got this
they're amazing.
elevator speech down there.
Oh yeah, I mean I've been doing this for 12 years. I mean I can sell
can sell
rainbows in my sleep. It's been good. And
so the salesman aspect, you're a songwriter. As you opened up with, you get your irons in a lot of fires.
Yes.
And even the drug addiction is like you are an aggressive personality, an alpha male.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
unfortunately,
you're balls to the wall,
it has its
pedal to the metal.
downsides.
Yeah, sure.
I really have to work hard to calm myself down and be respectful and considerate of people. My heart's quite often in the right place, but when you're that aggressive and people aren't, it can be intimidating and off-putting.
What we say it about teenagers, but I think of adults who have that drive and such, we say that they've got a really strong engine and weak brakes.
Yeah. I really have to focus on those brakes. They don't get pushed naturally. I've gotten better over the years. I've got friendships in recovery. One of the things we do, we're really big on intimacy and vulnerability and honesty and transparency.
Yeah.
And as such, you can build really close relationships real fast. Yeah. And I've just got friends that are ballsy enough to call me out on my crap and say, you need to cut that shit out. And let me know in a loving and firm way.
What drug were you, or drugs?
My drug of choice, honestly, was marijuana. And a lot of people minimize the addictive effects of marijuana, but, there's physical drug addiction, which is where you get your brain geared on this reward and pleasure system. And then you've got, in my view, emotional or spiritual, if you can digest that term, addiction, which is where you needed something to change the way you felt long before you first used. And that's a big difference. And an addict like that, drugs just happen to be the measure used. But if you remove the drugs and don't treat that underlying emotional condition, you'll just do something else like food or sex or gambling. Yeah. And so I've experimented with about, everything out there. I didn't get into heroin or meth. Unfortunately, I didn't know anybody that messed around with that stuff. But marijuana was my favorite because I'm already high, right? I want something to cool me down, So that's what I was into.
So how do you do it now then without the pot?
Well, I don't. Look at me. So no, I'll tell you, recovery principles. The deal is I don't need to change the way I feel because I've done some work and addressed those underlying drives that, the inadequacy and these bad self messages we can feed ourselves. One of the things that addicts, something about them, they're allergic to certain dispositions that some human beings can tolerate, like being resentful or being full of shame and guilt. Addicts, we're allergic to it. We can't live in it. And if we have that stuff going on, we're going to alter our reality. And so what I have to do as part of my life is resentment's not a luxury I enjoy. If I'm upset at somebody, I've got to inventory it. I've got to look at my part. I've got to tell somebody about it, analyze the character defects, own the harm I caused, and then go approach that person directly and make amends, unless it's going to harm them or somebody else. And so
you were doing that before the 12 steps, because that's one of the 12 steps, but yet you were saying, I would just right out of the womb, I've never been somebody who could carry around bitterness or hold grudges.
I carried it around, and it kept me pretty lonely.
Okay.
Pretty miserable.
But you learned I can't
in recovery.
Okay.
Well,
all right. So it was in recovery that you learned the benefits.
That's actually what recovery is. What the things I was describing, inventory, telling somebody else, confession, character defect analysis, making amends. Those are staple elements to the recovery.
Well, isn't 12-step Christian kind of based?
No, I'd say, it's derived from a Christian organization called the Oxford Group. And they were big in I believe, the 20s and 30s. And then
Bill W. wasn't a Christian, though, was he?
I think he developed in the one, to be honest with you.
But he specifically made step 2 ambiguous.
They were very big about that. So
step 2 is what, about God or something?
It's
like,
higher power.
Yeah, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So
what, as an atheist, what do you do with step 2?
Well, actually, that's a big part of my story is. And I don't know how much you guys want to get into it. I'll go as far as y'all.
We're going to go all the way back to your childhood.
Yeah,
I'm looking for a window here to get into that.
We're going to uncover it. Tell me about Uncle Joe. He was weird, wasn't he? So step 2.
Him.
Yeah, I know. The Thanksgiving reunion, he just that look in his eye.
So let's we'll address the step 2 question, then we'll go back to your childhood.
So that was a big part of my story. So initially, when I came, I'd struggled as a child. I was a theist. I really trying to develop a relationship with God personally.
Were your parents Christians?
Yeah, they were Christians, but not overly religious, which I'm really grateful for. We went to church a couple times a month.
Social Christians.
Which tradition were you in?
We were raised in Greek Orthodox Christian church, very serious Christianity. So when we go to church, we didn't throw the hands up, amen, and hallelujah. It was serious, though.
Yeah, it was liturgical.
The priest is out. Get into it.
See, I would think like Southern Baptist or something, but no.
My accent. Actually, I didn't have an accent until my 20s when I got into direct sales. I used to not have an accent much at all, but after doing direct sales for 12 years, we did most of our business in the country. So I'm out there working, Bob and Susie, how y'all doing? And if you don't talk like them, you're not going to make money. So you've adjusted. You learned. Quick.
Yeah,
but and we can address it. If you want to come back to how I reconcile my atheistic view as
we're working up to
in
that.
Recovery. That's a good meaty.
So
meaty
you're from around here then? This area?
from Jackson, Tennessee originally.
From Jackson. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So you got siblings?
Yes, brother and sister. Brother's 3 years younger. Sister's 5 years younger.
Oh, you're the oldest.
I'm
firstborn.
34. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're 34.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't take religion that serious, but you did have a relationship with God, or you felt...
Yeah, no, actually, one time I was in my bedroom. My dad believed in... They disciplined us pretty strongly, so certainly corporal punishment was liberally applied. And sometimes I'd go to timeout. So one time I had been particularly bad. I can't remember what I did. So I was in my bedroom for 2 weeks. Now I went to school, but when I got home from school, to the bedroom,
grounded, basically.
I ate my dinner. Yeah, I was grounded. I ate my dinner there. It wasn't Alcatraz or anything, but I didn't get to get out and play. So in about 2 weeks, I read through most of the Bible when I was, I don't know, I must have been 9 or something like that.
Really?
I just felt very lonely as a child, and this idea of a loving, all-powerful, all-knowing God up there that could see right into your heart and know every bit of you was just so attractive to me.
You also mentioned you have a strong drive to be right. So
definitely.
If you're raised in America and the vibe is that Christianity is the right religion, then you want to get on the right side of that. I mean, was that part of it?
No, I don't. I don't care about being right so much with what is popular. Oh, actually, a lot of the views. Being an atheist, it's not a very popular view here in Tennessee.
No. But as a Christian,
I'll say not so much to comport myself with the rest of society. But if religion is true, and at that time, I didn't have advantages of, understanding of physics and how universes are created and formed. I didn't have the evolutionary biology in my back pocket. So looking around the world, it's seemed quite obvious that there was a creator. So,
Right.
so my goal was to not only believe in that creator, but to understand that creator and be understood by that creator.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I don't care. Certainly I'll always do as a normal human being does as far as what, what other people do and say.
Well, I imagine you're a bit of a contrarian too. I mean,
I'd say so. I guess you have to be. I mean, again, in Tennessee, most atheists are, because we adopt a position, at least overtly, that is not very amicable to.
Are your siblings religious?
Yeah, definitely, much more so. Actually, progressively so. So from my brother to my sister. My sister's by far the most religious of us, and then my brother, he's a lot like my dad in that regard.
And they all know that you're an atheist?
Yeah.
How do you guys get along?
Get along well. It's certainly not something that they're pleased about. I think it bothers them to a degree because, I've got a very happy, functional life. I do. I live a good life. I love my wife. I love my kids. I do a lot of work on myself. I try to be a good human being and give and care and
they see all that.
And I try to abstain from compulsive behavior. I don't want to cheat on my wife, run around. I don't drink or drug, and that narrative kind of contradicts the whole underpinning of faith, so Christianity adopts the view that you have to have a special relationship with a God in order to have that kind of deep peace. And so when they see me,
that's confounding.
It's confounding to that story. When I first came out, definitely it was not a happy deal.
When was that?
I guess about 8 years ago now. 7 or 8 years ago.
So what made you decide? I mean, you'd read the Bible at age 9.
Yeah.
And then what degree of devotion were you as a believer? And then at what point did it unravel?
So, like I said, I would always, through my teens, after my parents' divorce and my grandfather died, that really stoked a lot of my skepticism, almost anti-theism there, because I was like, God, you're all powerful, you're all knowing, you're all good, but yet you let my grandfather, this really great man, die, and you let my parents, to get divorced. So, screw you. So, I saw through my teens, and I used my intellect to, debate and harangue people.
I saw that you went to web school.
I did.
That's a tough school. It's a prep school, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's serious. I really enjoyed it. I was there for 3 years, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. They finally kicked me out after my junior year. I had enough of my antics. Oh, yeah. So, but what was the question you asked just before?
Well, just the transition from theist to atheist.
Oh, yeah. What got me going was when I got into college and started studying, namely evolutionary biology. When I learned how life can evolve and become what it is on its own.
Yeah. And
when I learned how the universe can come what it is on its own, there wasn't a necessity to have a creator to explain it. And then, then I got into some books to study the matter. So I read, of course, Richard Dawkins' God Delusion. And then I was like, I read Lee Strobel's Case for the Creator, on this other side. So I was in this battle back and forth. And I guess at the end of the day, what really sold me on being an atheist, and this is, I guess, one of those big wow moments for me, is I said, okay, Alex, I'm feeling like maybe this God thing isn't for real. Let's see if the world makes sense from that lens. And so I put on my atheist glasses and I began living in my world.
It's almost like a year without God,
That's right. Sure. Hypothetically, as an atheist. And I'd always struggled to reconcile my worldview with reality. And there are always a lot of deals when you have an omnipotent, omnibenevolent, omniscient God, and you try to reconcile that when you have, AIDS, genocide, and the world the way it is. You have some troubles. Even just human interactions, just a lot of things just didn't make sense to me, in light of a theistic viewpoint. So with my atheistic glasses on, I suddenly found that I had no more reconciling to do, that everything that I was experiencing made sense and fit nicely within the slots of
reality.
Yeah. That's right.
Without a fictional narrative.
And I'm not one of those atheists that conclude, and I don't think many are, that certainly God doesn't exist. It just strikes me as an unlikely proposition. But I can say it's done so much for my sanity because there's just everything makes sense. Why is there AIDS? Because, that's the way viruses operate.
Germ theory.
Why do people rape? Because we're an extremely barbaric species that evolved from lower primates, and sex is used to drive, and it's been selected for. And sometimes genes, as precarious as they are, have a few mix-ups. And, why do people rape and murder? It's, well, when you have a crackhead mom and a dad that wasn't there, and you don't have an opportunity structure that's conducive to you, it can create behaviors and...
It's funny. So as a kid, you kind of when mom and dad divorced, when grandpa died, you're like, the world is an evil place. And then, then you start looking at theology and say, well, if, where the hell is God in all this? And then you realize through all the evils of the world that you just paraded, that if he exists, he's really absent. He's not, he's not engaged. And then by putting on this practice of, okay, I'm going to try the world. Because I think at the end of the day, you're also a guy who wants to be happy. I mean, aren't we all?
Definitely.
And so you were saying, can I be happy? Can I make sense of the world, by taking off the fictional narrative glasses of theology, putting on just the raw is what it is, naturalism glasses. And sure enough, you found that you could not only make sense of it and be happy.
Yeah. That's definitely been, and actually it's been like, it's kind of funny. Ironically, I think of that song Amazing Grace, I once was lost, but now I'm found.
Yeah.
That saved a wretch like me. And I really feel like atheism did that for me. I feel that in the bottom of my heart.
Well, I've often referred to Jesus' quote where he said, the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
I concur.
Yeah,
it did.
And like I said, it's my journey's not been a straight one. Like I said, as a kid, I was a theist, and I was an angry, anti-theist throughout my teens. And I got into recovery, and I was like, well, I got to have a God to do these steps here. And so I became a deist, and then a theist, and then a Christian, then an Orthodox Christian, and then through my education later on and my recovery, I started to just unpeel that atheism. But my atheism today is very different than what it was as a teen. I don't have a requirement to fix other people if they want to be believers. Matter of fact, if I had a special button that could remove someone's theism, I wouldn't push it because I don't know how their reality is moored to that viewpoint. Sure. And like my grandmother, for example, she's 70 years old, and I just don't know that she could handle if she came to the conclusion that God doesn't exist. He's got a whole lifetime built on this reality, and if it makes her sleep good at night, I don't know what role religion plays in the cohesiveness of our society. So
no, I totally agree. But the voice of David Silverman is in my head. He sat right where you are.
Yeah.
And he would say, but you're coddling her, you're enabling her immaturity.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I heard David Silverman speak at the Nashville Nuns Convention.
Yeah.
NanaCon.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, he's a very smart man, a good writer, he's a powerful speaker. But a lot of the ideas and the way he carried them, I really was repelled by some of them. His idea of going to a theist and telling him, you're basically stupid and you're a big fantasy and it's a myth. And I don't know how they do it up in New Jersey, but here in Tennessee, if you tell somebody that Jesus is just a big stupid imagination and you're an idiot for believing in it, and aren't you dumb? It's not going to work out. That's
not going to go
offensive.
well.
And here's the thing: telling young atheists to do that when they're already struggling to build and make relationships and holding a minority non-religious viewpoint, and then take the few relationships that they do have, people that do care enough about them to love them despite their atheism, and then coax this atheist to then go to them.
That's a good point.
And pull out their sword. Because here's the deal: my theology doesn't hold me. My theology doesn't tell me, Alex, you did a good job and I'm proud of you and I love you. My theology doesn't give me camaraderie and companionship. And I've got this host of needs well beyond being doctrinally sound. And if I use my theology to destroy the rest of my life that builds who I am, what life do I have left? And so I strongly disagree with David Silverman's point. And I don't know that David Silverman or any atheist can predict what impact atheism would have on our culture. You know, I love truth, but I don't know that everybody does. And there's certain falsities that are healthy for the human psyche. For example, under my view, there's not the gravest of differences if I was really hard pressed to distinguish between the life of a cockroach and the life of Bob.
Yeah,
you know, for example, I like you, Bob.
Thank you.
You're a lot better looking than a cockroach. But in the scheme of things, the universe doesn't care
Right.
any more about you than it does a cockroach.
Right.
Okay,
I agree.
But for my own sanity, I live under the view that I am much more important than a cockroach, and that's important, and that's the way I'm going to go, because I still have a life to live, regardless of what's true. I still got to live in my skin. And so David Silverman's perspective. As much as I appreciate the work he's done
I do
to
too.
improve atheism, I don't want to shame him, but that idea of going to all your friends and family and pulling out your big broadsword of atheism and beating them up with it, have fun with that. That's going to be a fun
not gonna
and
work.
painful journey for you.
Yeah,
So
that's for sure.
I would disagree with that.
What school did you go to? What undergrad?
So undergrad, Lambeth University in Jackson, Tennessee.
I don't know that one. And then you
the University of Memphis bought them out a few years ago, but they had actually been around like 160 years, and I was the last graduating class of Lambeth University, and now it's, I think, UT of Memphis, Lambeth campus.
Did you study evolutionary biology, or what did you study?
Yes. That's my major was psychology. My undergrad was a split between biology and philosophy, which is real interesting.
nice.
The way that worked out. I was actually supposed to be a biology minor, which and getting my minor in biology, I studied evolutionary biology, but I was supposed to be a bio minor. But I got to my last semester, the school was closing. All right, the next one, so it was going to set me way back if I didn't graduate. And my last semester, I had a class in genetics. Now, chemistry was a prereq. Now, I had like a 3.67 GPA. I'd always done well. So despite the lack of the prerequisite chemistry course, me and my advisor were like, well, let's take it. I'll be all right. I'm smart. I'm a hard worker. We'll get it done. Well, buddy, this teacher was nothing to play with, and neither was his class. I busted my hump and still made like a C or a D on the first test, and I was like, I'm not letting this rate my GPA here. So I'm going around, and what's so funny is I had taken so many philosophy classes, mostly devoted around religion, under a pastor friend of mine who taught there at Lambeth. And I had so enjoyed these religious debates that I had enough philosophy electives that I was able to split my minor and graduate
Excellent.
with a minor in bio split with philosophy. But yes, in my undergrad is where I first got exposed to the theory.
Did you
of
go on to get a
evolution.
master's degree or something?
No. So I got my bachelor's, took about a 5-year break, and then 3 years ago started law school at Nashville School of Law.
Excellent. Wow.
So I enjoy it. Number one in the class as of now. I got 2 more years, so I might get knocked
Keep
off.
going.
I thought it was a 2-year program at Nashville.
4
Is it?
year. Yeah, law's normally 3 years, and NSL does it in 4.
How many hours a week are you, like, credit hours do you
I
get?
guess right now it's like 14.
Okay, so full time.
I want to say, oh yeah, it's serious, and the way I study. I mean, to make the grades I do, you got to bust your butt. But my personality makes it doubly hard because I'll just get all the way into it, and I got to do it just right. Yeah. Like, for example, I just finished an objective memo. It's supposed to be about 6 to 7 pages. Okay, mine is 25. My professor's not going to be freaking happy about that.
It's just more for him to read.
So I spend, it takes a lot of time for me to do.
Overachiever.
I can't rest knowing half of something. It's a real curse. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I can.
I'm telling you.
It's good though. That's great.
Yeah,
That's
man.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
guys.
So,
You're welcome.
if I heard you correctly, childhood Christianity, teen atheism, and then a venture back into Christianity, and then back
really?
out. So when you said it's not a straight line,
It's a very jagged course, and that's something I'm real grateful for. I had somebody recently I was expressing that to, and I never thought about it this way. And he said, that's really awesome that your pathway's been that way. You know what that tells me about you, Alex? Of course, I'm zoned in. What? Spare me no details.
you're going to talk about me. I'm listening.
That's right. Hold on. Shh. This guy's talking about me. Good deal. Go ahead, Bob. So he says it really indicates that you're a really open-minded human being.
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, the fact that you just said you read Dawkins and then you read
that's
Strobel.
right. I didn't.
Lee Strobel.
And even still, I've got a number of friends that are hardcore Calvinists, and we will debate back and forth.
Man.
And it's not easy exposing yourself to viewpoints and information that contradicts your worldview, because in order to hear something, I think you kind of have to suspend what you think you know for that moment to even understand something that contradicts what you believe, and it's stressful.
Otherwise, you're not listening. You're just waiting for them to shut up so you can speak.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
so
that's
so
true.
I'm a big believer in trying to stay as impartial and as objective as I can. But at the end of the day, I don't put near as much food into my theistic machine as I do my atheistic machine. I'll do enough so I can rest easy. I'm a good human being and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm an atheist, and I'm
But
proud
that's
to,
a great
proud to be one.
skill to learn how to like sort of suspend your cognitive dissonance, you know, and
It's-
have two ideas in your head at the same time.
It's thankfully my ego helps make that happen. I care enough about being right. I'll endure.
See, that's the
I
thing.
endure the stress.
There's several things that have come up here that where we have a tendency to think that something is, well, for example, the ego. In a binary, bifurcational mindset, egos are evil, all together.
All bad. Yeah,
all
that's
bad. And it's like, no, actually it serves a good purpose, and you just pointed out one of them. Just rein it in, be self-aware that it's there, and that it has an appetite. And I think that's the other thing about, I would say even some of these things like sex and drugs and food, that all of these things are good on one in a moderate sense and can kill you, and we need to understand that.
You make a really good point about that. That's one of the biggest benefits I've gotten from my worldview is the ability to moderately view certain of these things. So a lot of times in the Bible, let's take masturbation, for example, or pornography even. Okay, well, the Bible and religious dogma, oftentimes take the view that stuff is really bad and you can't do it at all, ever.
Abstain.
Any of it is terrible. Or let's say a selfishness or self-centeredness. If you're not caring about your brother, you're just a bad, selfish, arrogant human being. And it's really, really difficult to live in that place because it's not realistic. It's not easy, and it's
nor sustainable.
And so I spent a lot of misery trying to live up to this dichotomy between either being a saint or this good human being who's living to the glory and to the satisfaction of my Creator,
or when you felt the slightest tinge of selfishness, that's bad.
No, that's right, that's evil. And so in my life today, so many things that used to be bad, I have them within moderate, healthy bounds. I mean, and so the question I got to ask myself is my morality today isn't based on what pleases the God. It just comes down to, am I causing harm to myself or others in the story? I don't know of an immoral act that sensibly that doesn't cause harm. If it doesn't cause harm, how can you call it immoral? And I'll say this: so adopting a more balanced view of sexuality, for example, has helped me so much in my marriage. It's helped me appreciate who I am. I'm not shaming myself or my wife. I mean, I could go on, but that's you make such a good point about this either or thing, this black and white mentality, and atheism and naturalism. It's just messier.
Yeah.
And it applies
well,
a little
exactly
more.
Right. It's the nuanced. And it's no wonder that you approached, like, say, firebrand atheism, where you were like, but, you can hurt somebody with that too.
Right.
So we're looking at everything as a potential danger and a potential benefit. And it's nuanced. And I often wonder, and I know this sounds elitist, but at least I'm curious, because it's nuanced and, as you just described, messy, I think that it's the easy route sometimes for people.
Absolutely.
Maybe, and I'm sorry, but maybe a little simpler people, that it's just easier for them to compartmentalize or to categorize and just say all masturbation's evil, all Islam is evil, or all black people are evil, or you fall into those traps because it's the easy way. It's a lot messier and nuanced to navigate those things and say Islam is not entirely evil. Black people are not whatever I just mentioned. Masturbation every now and then, go for it, whatever.
Yeah, sure. And if you look at it, to me, I guess the natural human mind doesn't seem to tolerate mystery well.
Nope.
It doesn't seem to tolerate unanswered questions. What's that behind the bush? Well, let's find the hell, excuse me.
That's fine.
If profanity bothered.
No, we're good.
Let's find the hell out. What's behind that bush, right?
Yeah.
And so religion, it answers so many questions. That does so poorly, but you got a really good answer.
Yeah, that's right.
You
It
know,
feels good.
It feels
comforts.
good. It's done. I mean, and this is one of the things that I wish a lot of atheists would pay more attention to, are some of the benefits that do come from a theistic worldview. You know, moving into atheism wasn't just a pure and exclusive net gain. You know, there were some things I lost, you know, adopting that. But, you know, from the theistic viewpoint, you have a grounding for universal morality. You've got this super powered big brother in the sky that loves you and watching over you. Your 2-year-old daughter. Yeah, you've got purpose in life. You've got forgiveness. Oh, man, you stole that money, no problem. Man, throw it to the blood of Jesus. You know, so, I mean, there's a lot of things that come from that theistic view. And here's the thing. If we want to attract more atheists, if we don't start to take into account these needs that people have, social needs, for example, church does such a good job at providing a nurturing, caring, dynamic social environment to come and celebrate that. And one of the reasons I go to Sunday Assembly. Yeah. And, you know, there's again, it's messier. There's a lot more to the issue than what people realize. And I agree with you. I think a lot of people that move into atheism tend to be a little more intelligent, have a tolerance for ambiguity, to where a lot of your more simple-minded people, not that religious people are simple-minded, but most simple-minded people, I think, are religious.
There you go.
Right?
Because it's easy route.
It's easy. It's just simple. It's an easy button. Boom.
So I got a quote for you on this subject. This is a guy named, I guess this is 1893, Andre Gide.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting.
It's spelled Gide, like
Gide.
Gide.
Yeah, Andre Gide. He was a French guy, French novelist.
So he says this: Christianity, above all, consoles. But there are naturally happy souls who do not need consolation. Consequently, Christianity begins by making souls unhappy, for otherwise it would have no power over them.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before as far as Christianity creates a problem, then provides a solution, and we're supposed to be grateful. Seriously.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and I've heard that, you know, there's a lot of Facebook memes that creates a sickness so that it suits its remedy. I agree. I mean, if you look at the basic Christian doctrine, the first thing you have to establish is that you're evil. You're a terrible, bad. And there again, another one of my benefits of being an atheist. I mean, golly, when you remove evil from your life, that it no longer exists, wow.
Yeah, it just is what it is.
And the things, the evil, what used to be evil things, more times than not, are just sick people, man. I think religion does do that. You know, for instance, one of the core tenets of Christianity is that you must realize that you can't fulfill the law. Okay, that Christ did fulfill the law
on your behalf.
On your behalf, and that your only salvation is basically coming in under His umbrella and His sacrifice. He not only fulfilled the law, but He paid the cost.
Yeah, the wages of sin is death.
That's right. And so, to be honest with you, though, I was looking at the 10 Commandments the other day, and I do really well by them. You know, so I don't. You know, I think today, if God's out there, I'm pretty well fulfilling the law. You know, I think, for the most part, I honor my mom and dad. They're cool people. I don't steal. I don't covet my neighbor's boat, and he can keep that sumbitch. So I don't murder.
So you mentioned Sunday Assembly, and I know the cool thing about even Christian church is not so much the Sunday morning gathering where everybody's sitting and facing the same direction and listen to one person talk or whatever, but true community building takes place sometimes online, like through these chat rooms or Facebook profiles, but also I know Sunday Assembly does this as well, is they meet in homes at least once a month.
Yeah.
And they have covered dish dinners or just discussion groups or book clubs. Are you involved in any kind of community like that?
I did a little bit initially, but as law school has progressed, particularly my second year of law school, I had a really rough workload. I just haven't had the time to get into the smoke.
You've also mentioned that some of your community needs are met through the therapy, through the recovery.
Absolutely.
These honest relationships.
That's most of it. Honestly, I go to Sunday Assembly. What I get out of Sunday Assembly, I mean, aside from the great music, and I always get a good message.
Yeah.
They got somebody, they got these great, this one guy, Cass Midgley, came up there one time, touched my heart. I tell you what.
It was like he was speaking to me.
Yeah. So, but yeah, but aside from that, it's just, it's very good for me as a person to be in a room full of people who share my view around the God.
Especially here in the South, you can feel very lonely.
Especially here in the South, absolutely. So I guess that's one of the biggest jobs I get. But yeah, my primary community needs are met through my recovery community.
Alex, it's interesting. It doesn't seem like, for example, some of the people that we have on, talk about a triggering moment. Like one thing that happened that just sort of busted open for them.
Yeah.
That wasn't like that with you. It was very gradual, it seems
I don't think so. It was very cognitive. So actually my emotions were the last to come aboard. And there's good reason why so many Christians try to debunk evolution. As much as we want to as atheists try to separate evolution and atheism, but I think a naturalistic view follows pretty well from a naturalistic explanation for life on Earth.
Yeah. Well, it's why Ken Ham is so threatened by evolution.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my, Ken Ham.
Absolutely.
And I taught at a Christian school back in the 90s, late 90s.
I bet you was a good Christian. You got that look about you.
Oh, he was.
I can tell you got the spirit in you, boy. I tell you what.
I did. I was an extremely zealous Christian.
Yes, he was.
But I was teaching at a Christian school, and we would play tapes from Ken Ham, and I think some other type figures that were.
That's got to be child abuse.
It was, but they did say. I mean, I figured out pretty quick if somebody is so attentive to a certain thing like they are to evolution, it's got to be that they know that's the domino or the cotter pin that will literally collapse it all, and it does, and they're protective.
And most of the theists I have met that even do acknowledge evolution, they still like to reserve. Well, we got this little point here now that a God was needed there, but past that, like
God of the gaps.
You look at God of the gaps, abiogenesis, how we went from life to non-life. Well, of course, evolution explained from multicellular life on, but what about that magic moment when we went from molecule to an organism there? I mean, hey, that was special.
Yeah.
It's like, well, isn't it convenient that you can rest your doctrine on an area of science that happened, I don't know, 5 billion years ago,
A little space.
And for which there's no fossil record. I mean,
Well, even then, if you grant them, okay, that there is a God who did that, they still have all their work cut out for them to say that he doesn't like gays, that he doesn't like pork, that he does.
Oh, to prove those other points.
I mean,
yes,
all
absolutely.
you're having at that point is a very ambiguous deistic God that jump-started the whole thing. But getting down to where he doesn't like,
Well, see, you can use social conformity to carry the rest of the way.
Okay.
You see, so
what's that?
Well, that's how religion perpetuates itself.
Okay.
Social conformity. I mean, look how effective it is.
Yeah.
And where are we going to get them? When they're 2 years old.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When they don't have rationality and skepticism.
Yeah.
And I read a quote somewhere, and I can't remember it, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's when you teach a child something about the universe, especially something as encompassing and pervasive as religion, and when you teach them this truth at a very young age, as they grow older, they then run their whole world experience through these non-negotiable and accepted tenets of truth. So later on in life, when skepticism and rationality do develop, they do so inferior to these core tenets of belief. And so it's such an effective way to perpetuate religion.
Yeah.
Let's teach it to them when they're too young to dispute.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the people that are giving it to you aren't a teacher. They're not your buddy. They are your mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I don't know about y'all, but I thought my mom and dad were gods up until like
Every kid does.
6, 7 years old. They know everything. They're super strong. They can't be wounded. I mean, and so if they tell me that a duck can pull a truck, I'm going to just hook his quacking ass up.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
So social conformity.
Strength in numbers.
But strength in numbers. That pressure of we're all doing this. You better jump in. Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
I think Ken Ham too. Use Ken Ham because he's got an English accent. He sounds
Australian.
Well, whatever.
Oh,
He sounds smart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just by having the accent. Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Absolutely. I'm so intelligent.
There's many
now.
people that have thought
My IQ just went up like 30 points right there. Absolutely.
Try selling your rainbow with that accent.
Actually, it reminds me because people tell me they got their Dyson. So one of the things I do with my job is I overcome the unit they're using, and they'll be like, "Well, I got a Dyson." I said, "Well, guys, to be honest with you, Dyson does the same thing regular units does, but they do have a really sharp British fella. I never knew how smart sounding they were till that Dyson never loses suction." I'm like, I'm sold.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So
it must work properly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your wife and kids. How long you been married?
13 years. 13 years. In September, it'll be 13 years.
What's your kids' situation? How many and what age?
15 and 11.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
what genders are we?
Males.
Two sons.
Two boys.
Two boys, yeah.
I think I was looking, I basically troll the guests before they come on, and so I was looking through your photos, and so you got one that, like a football player?
Stalking me, were you there,
Yeah,
Cass?
I was.
That's right. Looking at those selfies.
You got a football player for a son? Is that
I do. Both of them play football, actually.
Well, you've got a football body. I mean, I thought you're an intimidating stature.
I was too sweet growing up. I just didn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I really, even this day, watch it. I'll just bust out crying out of nowhere.
Yeah. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, I am. I'm a lover. I'm a very sensitive guy. You know.
Did your son? I was trying to, because it looked like your son had a different last name than Starr.
Yes. So Cain, he's his biological father lives in West Tennessee,
right.
And I got with Sarah when Cain was about a year and a half old.
Okay, so you're all he's ever known as a dad, kind of.
Yeah, and he does visit his dad. His dad he does play a role in his life, but I would say that I. Not to offend any family listening, but I have served as his father.
Sure.
Of course.
Since he was about a year and a half old.
Yeah.
And we don't distinguish in our household.
No.
And that's not just a pandering. That's really how we operate. I've actually got a unique story about my oldest son wanting to get baptized recently. So
I was just going to ask about that.
Put that in the
how do you deal with religion with your kids?
So one of the things I really wanted to be careful of that I didn't indoctrinate my kids into atheism, because it's not fair. If you now, what I have been happy to teach my children are critical thinking skills on how to ask questions, about a given philosophy, and if that's a sin, well, I guess I'll just have to pay for it in the afterlife, which has me trembling in my boots.
I can see that.
So, but I didn't want to indoctrinate my kids. My wife's a theist.
No way.
Yes, she is,
Really?
absolutely. And
Wow.
we have a very successful marriage. I don't even know if I would say notwithstanding. I would say partly because of our differences, and so we've been able to provide for our children two opposing views held by pretty healthy, sane human beings.
Does she attend anywhere?
No, she's not. I wouldn't call my wife religious, but she, there's something out there, and he loves me. It's definitely a he, and it's definitely one.
Okay.
So she's a monotheist. But yeah,
Has she been to Sunday assembly with you?
she has.
She enjoy that, or like?
Yeah, okay. It's just not her thing.
Yeah.
She's now here's and that David Silverman. She sat in on that, and
At
she
the NanoCon?
yeah, the NanoCon. She busted out crying. I mean, it was a very painful experience. for
Okay,
her.
now
I mean,
there's some.
yeah,
a
it
little
was.
bit while you were pushed back against.
Oh no, I was pushed back anyway. That just confirmed, But I mean, but it was very it was very demeaning to theism. I mean, it wasn't just firebrand atheism. It was, if you're a theist, you're a dumb, soggy piece of crap.
Wow.
And you need to be saved from how stupid you are. I mean,
Might as well have been a fundamentalist.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there again, I met Dave, and he's a go-getter. Let me tell you, this guy's a hustler. He's doing his. But yeah, so my wife set in on that, and it was a very painful experience for her. But she, the Sunday assembly thing, she'd just rather stay in on Sunday and do her thing. She's very busy gal.
Yeah,
sure. It's not an animosity towards it. It's just I've got better things to do.
Definitely not.
I get that.
Sunday assembly was very. I mean, I would say if they did anything, they erred on the side of being just too sweet.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun people.
I like a little cynicism in my with my breakfast now. Come on.
They're just happy-go-lucky people.
Man, it is so great. Life's so good.
Yeah.
So, when you talk to your kids, then how do you give me an example of how they understand? You know, do they?
Well, actually, both of them are believers. Neither one. They might, if someone pressed them, they'd say I'm Christian, but we haven't taken them to a ton of church. Now they've gone occasionally. If I've got a buddy, I've encouraged them. Here's a good story that'll illustrate kind of how I raise my kids. So recently, my son started going to this athletic religious club to where they meet once a month or once a week and study the Bible.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes?
Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you. And so my son was getting into that, and all of his classmates, they're building up to the time where some of them are getting baptized. And he came to me and he said, like a few weeks or a few months ago, he had mentioned about getting baptized. I said, well, that's fine, but that's a big decision. You're kind of offering contractually to the Creator the rest of your life, and in exchange you get His love, salvation, and maybe eternity in heaven. So it's a big step, it's a big act. And I mentioned, I said, well, that's fine. I would much rather you take some time and get educated on that, thoroughly before you do make that decision. And I think a lot of people, when they baptize kids at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, to think that a child could appreciate what they're offering and what they're doing in that act strikes me as nonsensical
and presumptuous.
I mean, it's like I didn't really know, until my early 20s.
What that was.
What life.
Well, they're counting on the coming in and out of water. Titillating wise and sensitive wise is a goosebump experience, even if you're just in the ocean.
Yeah, cold
whatever.
Water. Look, he's got chills. God's with him.
Yeah.
Well, that or the temperature dropped 30 degrees.
and
Conditioning kicked in.
It kind of time stamps your life in a way, and so they're looking for that event to be. I felt something. It must have been God. There's a lot of manipulation going on.
So my son, he decided. So it progressed. We had that conversation. So it progressed until a few weeks ago, my wife told me, Kane's getting baptized Wednesday. I was like, okay, well, that's fine, but it's kind of not what we talked about. We talked about he, wanted to get some information. But there again, I wanted to be very careful that I wasn't construed as trying to control my son. Yeah, because I mean, I don't want to indoctrinate my kids any more than I'd have somebody else's. So I called Kane and we talked about it. And I'm going to try to recall the conversation as well as I can. And I said, and we talk in my family, recovery has taught me communication skills. And I said, Kane, I want to share with you a moment. I'm going to share with you some of my fears and some of my concerns. And then I want you to share with me some of yours so that way we can get on the same page here. And I said, my concern is, Kane, one of the things you don't understand about religion is it can be very controlling in the respect of you get into that environment and it's very reinforcing. And the way the Christian dogma is if you're a non-believer, you give up salvation. I mean, if you just believe right, you're pretty well good to go. But if you don't believe right, you are very, very bad. And so it's very reinforcing. So I said, Kane, number one, the decision you're walking down, it's a hard one to back out of. I say this because I did. And I said, number two, even from a doctrinal view, Kane, and I asked him, I said, what do you think you're offering to God when you get baptized? And he said, my life. I said, and what do you think you're getting in return? He said, I'm getting, salvation and God's love, and I get a new start. That's what he said. And I said, and when you're offering this to God, how is it that you're supposed to live? He said, like a Christian. And I said, and where is that information located, how to live like a Christian? He said, the Bible. And I said, and how much of the Bible have you read? Okay. Boom. He said, about 30 pages. And I said, and how big is the Bible? We agreed about 1,200.
I love the fact that you're just using all questions.
Yeah.
Socratic.
Yeah, that's right. So I said, the Bible's about 1,200 pages. So that sounds about like 0.3%. I said, let me ask you this. How much percent would you want to be informed about before you committed the rest of your life to it? I said, great. So
wow,
now,
that's really good.
Yeah. And so I said, now, Kane, if you want to get baptized on Wednesday, I will be there with my poster board cheering you on.
Yeah.
Because I love you. And he started crying. He said, Dad, I know you love me and I trust you. And I know you'd be there, but I would want you to really, really support it. And so what he was saying in that moment, if I can convey it to you guys, is that even though I'm an atheist, that my son trusts me so much that he wouldn't move forward on something as serious as his salvation without my sincere support.
Endorsement, yeah.
And so me and my wife, we went to Hastings that night. We went and bought him a $40, young study Bible and everything like that. And I told my buddy Craig, who's a serious Christian, I said, listen, if Cain's got some questions, I want you to work with him. And I told, and Cain and I agreed that it would be good to first off read the Bible, and second off, study a couple of opposing viewpoints, a few naturalistic centered books. So that way you can make an informed decision. So I don't know how much of a picture that paints, but that's how we.
So he did in fact postpone the baptism.
Yes,
for the time being.
And I've asked him several times, "You reading that Bible? How's it going?" And that doesn't sound to be. He's not following it with the oomph, but
I'm reminded by that story that, of course, you have eternity.
Yeah.
That's a great sales pitch. I mean, that's a great incentive. You get the love of God, but this new beginning. That's a big deal, and it's a great sales pitch with the thing is that the old is gone, the new has come. And who doesn't want that? Like every day.
Right.
Like in a way, that's a universal need and desire. It's just like, I really would love to start over. And then, here he is, a high school kid, and he's in these FCA group, and there's teen peers all around him, and throwing out that you want a new beginning, you want a fresh start, you want a clean slate.
Oh, yeah.
This is it. Boy, that's a good set.
Powerful stuff. Yeah.
And and we do. We have a very open and loving. Here's another example of, and this shows how recovery operates in my life. So the other day I was playing a song my son likes, and I had made a modification to the song, and I said, "Cain, come here. I want you to hear this song." So I played him the song. Halfway through the song, or towards the end, he starts watching an audible YouTube video. Okay, that I can hear. That's clearly contrasting with my music. I'm sitting here singing, eyes closed, and I hear a YouTube video. So I got upset. I said, Cain, that really, really hurt my feelings. I'm trying to share my music, and you're watching a video. I didn't like that at all. I'd like you to leave the bedroom, please. Thank you. He gets up and leaves. I called him in about 2 minutes later. I set him on the edge of the bed. I said, Cain, I want to apologize. I didn't appreciate that there's been a lot of times in the past you've wanted to share something with me, and I've been on the phone, distracted, and so I've been a model for that kind of behavior, and so I'm going to do my best to work on it because I can see how it makes someone feel, and I apologize. And my son said, "Oh, I knew you'd call me, and I appreciate it." He knew
that you'd call him back in?
That I was the kind of father that inventoried what I do, and I'm willing to make reparations and own the harm I cause. And that's my spirituality.
Yeah.
That's
a spiritual practice right there, buddy.
I think so. And if I get to the end, if I get up to the Creator and He says, Alex, you did this, that, and the other, I'm going to say, you know what? You can send me down to hell, big man, but I did the very best I could with what I've got.
I've often said that our atheism is actually better than Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager says, what if you're wrong? You better play it safe in case God's an asshole and go ahead and get baptized or get your fire insurance and get your train ticket stamped. That's Pascal's wager. No. The better wager is to say, no, I'm betting that God's better than that. And I'm going to pursue truth and love and harmony and compassion with all my heart. Good. And if I get to heaven and there's some kind of fucking judgment seat, then I don't want to spend 5 minutes with that guy. Right. Much less a billion years. Yeah. So I've often said I'll never bow the knee to a God that's not at least as good as I am.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll say this regarding the Pascal's wager. How do you change belief? This table's white. How do I convince you that it's not white? Yeah. And then shame you for you thinking it's white?
Yeah. And what kind of God couldn't see through that shallow commitment?
Yeah.
Like, okay, real. I'll believe.
Right, yeah, I'll
wink,
believe.
Wink.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. I mean, it's like if God wants me to believe, make more sense. And I will.
Yeah.
I'm down.
That's all you got to do, God, is make more sense.
Make more sense, man. I don't know, use your magic and send down some reasonable ass shit, and I'll adopt it.
Or either that or some pixie dust to delude me, or something.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Great stuff.
Getting in the home stretch here, some kind of personal questions. Can you think of a teacher or professor or just a person in your life that comes to mind as far as somebody that really impacted you, a hero type person?
Mr. Groves. Mr.
Okay.
Groves, Jackson State Community College, my biology 1 professor.
What'd you like about him?
Oh, he was just so good at being right. It was so sexy. And I mean, and this guy, he wasn't mean. He was unapologetically, without being crass or arrogant, he asked difficult questions. And his logic just made sense. I would fight it. Now, when I was in biology class, I was a believer.
Sure.
Now, but I was also dedicated to rightness and truth, and so I'm not going to shut down an idea because it's inconvenient. Yeah, I think my jagged path indicates that. Yeah. So I was in class, and me and this guy go back and forth. Even in law school, a third of the class can't stand me because I talk so damn much, as you guys can tell. So
I relate, man. I relate to be in a group of people where they see you coming and they roll their eyes.
Yeah. Oh man,
I'm that guy too.
They're just hating. They're just hating. I mean, come on, you guys can be like me too. I'll show you how to do it.
Haters gonna hate.
A hater's gonna hate. I'm telling you. So Mr. Groves, he was really great. He explained the theory of evolution in very simple, understandable terms. He took hard questions. He was willing to debate and argue back and forth. Mm-hmm. And that class forced me to get to studying. I was like, this is really unsettling. Mm-hmm. So I would go home and fight and work through, and I'd come up to class and I'd be, what about the Cambrian explosion? How about that? What you got to say about that there, Mr. Groves? And he'd say, that's good. And he turned him on. He was excited that I was, getting into it. And I called him about a year and a half ago. Hadn't talked to him since, and I got a hold of him. I called the school. I said, do you have a number on this guy? I'd really want to reach out to him. And finally got a hold of his phone number.
And how many years had passed by the time?
Oh, gosh, 8, 9.
Okay.
A lot. And so, or for me anyway, 34-year-old dude, 8, 9's a lot. So I called him and I said, Mr. Groves, I just want to thank you so much for opening my eyes. You set me on a course and a path that has done so much for me as a human being. Yeah. And it's brought so much happiness. I can tell you, I really, really do. A naturalistic worldview has done so much for my ability to tolerate humanity, my ability to appreciate and love myself as I am, my ability to be honest. And, and I could go on, the specialness that I do have in this universe, even though the universe doesn't care, to think that the universe mindlessly generated something as miraculous as us is really freaking cool. And then we're these like advanced primates on this floating mote of dust, suspended in a universe that's 13.8 billion years old.
And hurling through space
at like 13 million miles an hour, trying to figure out how to make sense of making love. It's some really, really good stuff. And so I told Mr. Groves, I said, dude, I just thank you so much. He appreciated it.
Yeah, sure. He's a professor.
And he was never one. He was not a suck up. He was very, he was just good. He was very comfortable in his own skin. And then he started talking about he's gotten big into magic. He's like, I'm working on these tricks and blah, blah, blah. He sent me a few books but I'm sure he appreciated it. But yeah, that man is where I started. And though he wasn't some cool or fancy dude, he was smart and he was confident and comfortable. And he seemed to have a worldview that made a lot of sense to him.
That's always attractive when you meet somebody that's comfortable in their own skin and they're not striving to be liked or to be superior or, he's just even killed. And that's just so attractive. Yeah. That's sexy.
It is sexy. It is. It is. It is.
Absolutely.
So what kind of music do you like?
Oh, gosh, about everything.
I know that you're busy, and so we often ask about movies and television. You probably don't have time for that kind of stuff.
I do like movies. I don't watch a lot of television series. Like Game of Thrones and Ray Donovan are about all, and that's because my wife really, really loves them. So it's kind of like a special thing. Her and I.
Ray Donovan?
Yeah, Ray Donovan.
I don't know that one.
Show.
It's got the guy. You remember X-Men? Mm-hmm. Okay, Wolverine?
Yeah.
His little brother with the fingernails?
The little brother of Wolverine?
No,
I don't know.
The big brother.
Lee Schreiber.
Okay.
God, what else?
Oh,
is
yeah.
Lee Schreiber.
Yeah,
Schreiber.
real serious the most serious eyebrows in entertainment.
He's a great actor.
These eyebrows are 3.5 miles wide. They are very serious. So I do like movies. I can't recall.
You see something recently, or?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I've been so disappointed with Hollywood the last few years. The two movies I can recall recently that were actually decent were Sicario with Benicio del Toro.
Yeah,
that was a good film. Mm-hmm. And I think The Hateful Eight
Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino movie that came out. But movies have gotten really good with the microscopic aspects. Like if you did a shot of a guy walking in a bar, looking cool, rock and roll, getting the bitch, blowing the car up, that stuff's done well. But the more macro picture of a story and character development and building a relationship with these people, they just flopped. And I'll tell you who's slamming it in movies, always have and always will, is Disney. Them some guns know how to make a good damn movie. I cry about every Disney movie I watch.
No, you're right.
I'm serious.
They always have great stories.
I mean, it's Wall-E. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That cute little son of a bitch. He is darling. Big Hero 6, Up was God when he was going through the book and thinking of his life and he's got this hard shelled exterior, but really he's all soft and mushy inside.
Did you see Inside Out?
Yeah,
the
I did.
emotions inside the head.
I didn't like that one as much, but it was still good.
Well, they're not just for children; they're shockingly adult.
Oh yeah. And that's the skill with Disney. They make it cartoon and fancy and fun and excitement, but it's filled with innuendo and metaphor that only an adult would get. Yeah. So everybody gets a cookie.
That's right.
So,
well, let's let me grab the guitar.
Oh, yeah baby.
And maybe we can hear a song.
I'm down. Let's do it. I'm doing it. Yeah, let's do it. Rock and roll. Okay. Yeah, I'll do this one. This is one I wrote about my wife. Most of my songs are about my wife. She's so sweet. I love her.
She's your muse.
She's great. Oh, she's so awesome. We got married at 21 and 22. Wow. Looking back, I was like, I got so lucky. We moved in a month, married in 8, rock and roll. I was a believer. Actually, God got me married. Sure. I was living in sin, okay, and several times a week. In
near
fact,
Jackson.
So we were living in sin, and I was very uncomfortable with that. And then, I told God, I said, all right, dude. I'm going to marry this woman. You better make my marriage awesome. Now, if God exists, he has held up his end of the bargain. I'm telling you, absolutely. So this song's about my baby. Well, let me start by saying I was wrong. So I wrote you this pretty little song, hoping that it might make you smile. Even better if it makes you wild. You can say that I'm nothing well through, but I was looking, never touched little boo. Even though my eyes may roam, my heart is stays at home. You know that way. Everything got it going on. You know that it's me who's always gonna take you home. Well, no one can go to the show, yeah, without buying a ticket. So pay your money and stay, my honey, and we can make it one day at a time, 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 make it a day at a time, yeah. Girl, first you say that I'm doing you wrong, then you say that I turn you on, acting crazy when we fuss and fight. Can't wait to make up tonight. There ain't another that don't know you like me. We go together sweet and low and iced tea. Round here no substitutes for the way I'm loving you. You know that way. It really got it going on. You know that it's me who's always gonna take you home. Well, no one can go to the show, yeah, without buying that ticket. So pay your money and stay, my honey, we can make it one day at a time. One day at a time. One day at a time. Day at a time. Make it a day at a time, yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Woo-hoo! Oh, it's awesome.
There's a popular thing going there. That'd be a great song.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is anybody interested in actually doing that? Or?
I've got another one I'm actually recording today for called "Earned My Guns" that I'm working on. That there does seem to be some interest for. So we'll see if anything unfolds. So.
Yeah, that could take care of paying some law school bills.
Man,
right
I
there,
tell you what, I rock and roll. Anybody wants to buy that music and do something with it, it's sitting in my head making no money right now. So,
well, Alex, man, it's a fascinating story. You're a fascinating guy. You feel good about the talk?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
What's not to like of it? It's been awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Hey, and I'll say this as we're on the show, Cass and Bob, thank you guys so much for what you do.
Oh, thank you.
When I first became an atheist, it was real lonely for that first year. It was a very depressing time in my life, and I didn't know of other people that shared my view, and I didn't have any relationships with them. And so, and a lot of my family were very opposed. And so meeting other atheists and learning that they're out there and I'm not alone was a big part of my well-being. And you guys are helping further that movement to reach out to people considering this worldview and giving them comfort to come out, and those that already are out, giving them a refuge and a place to feel accepted and welcome. So thank you for the hard work y'all do. Y'all are very devoted to your podcast. I mean, y'all been doing it quite a while, and you do it consistently. So thank you for what you do. It's a real service to the community, I think.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. Alex Starr.
Everybody. Wow.
Everybody.
I'm telling you.
Force of nature.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a talented and funny guy. And smart and
drinking Red Bull.
And I was thinking about that.
So I think we get the full dose.
I mean, a guy with his personality, and then you add a little Red Bull to that. That's that can light you up a little bit.
Firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
He honestly was a delight, and I think a unique show. We've never had a Greek Orthodox, ex-Greek Orthodox on.
How about that?
We've never had live music in the studio before.
And that was awesome. What a great job.
Some of it was hard to understand, but some of it was so quick.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we go together like iced tea and sweet and low.
Yeah.
And then the next line was, but there's no substitution for something, a sugar substitute.
Yeah.
Really clever stuff, but went by so fast, I'm going to have to go back and listen to it.
Have to put a little reverb on that, too. You've got a machine here.
Yeah, I could do that, yeah.
Turn it into a show business thing.
But
well, it was awesome. I don't know where you find these folks, but keep bringing them on,
well,
man.
I
awesome.
think it came out in the show that we met at Sunday Assembly, and I
right.
put out a feeler like, hey, anybody want to come on and tell their story? And obviously, he's the kind of guy that says, me, I will.
Yeah.
And does a great job at it. So, good show.
Yeah, absolutely terrific.
Try it again next week.
Let's do it. All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.